There is a feeling that has kept you company these last few evenings. Maybe it came while you were folding the last of the laundry, or standing in the kitchen after the dishes were done and the house had gone still. A small heaviness has settled in, a sense that something is ending, though nothing on the calendar says so. You may have wondered whether you are imagining it, but you are not, and you are far from the first to feel it. In the coming nights, the sky will do something people have watched for thousands of years. So stay a while. Let the day set down its weight for a few minutes. There is nothing here you need to do, and nothing you need to fix. Before going any further, if you feel moved to, leave one word below for how this week has landed in you. Or leave the name of your sign. It helps, in a still room late at night, to see the small proof that you are not the only one who felt the shift. Here is what is coming. On the night of August 27th, running into the small hours of the 28th, the full moon will slip into Earth's shadow and turn a deep, burnished copper. The full sturgeon moon, the old late summer name for it, taken from the great fish once hauled from the lakes at this time of year, will be resting at about 4 degrees of Pisces, facing the sun across the sky in Virgo, across North and South America. All of it will be there for you overhead, and near the edge of the night, parts of Europe and Africa will catch it as the moon sinks toward morning. The deepest moment comes a little after midnight in the eastern part of the country, when most of the house is already asleep and the street outside your window has gone silent, and it is completely safe to rest your eyes on. A solar eclipse can harm you, and you are right to keep your distance from one of those. This is the gentler kind. You can stand at a window in your robe, or step out onto the cold grass in bare feet and watch it for as long as you like with nothing between you and the sky but the night air. If you look closely, you will find the ringed planet Saturn keeping steady watch nearby, and low beneath the moon, a single bright star called Fomalhaut, a lonely beacon in an empty patch of sky. They will be there the entire time, quiet companions to the reddening. You may have heard this moon called a blood moon, and you deserve the honest version of that name. This will not be the full kind of eclipse, the kind where the entire face vanishes into shadow. What waits for you is a partial one, though about as deep as a partial can go. Close to 96 parts in 100 of the moon's bright face will pass into the darkest core of the Earth's shadow, so nearly all of it darkens and reddens, with only a thin seam of white light clinging to one edge, like the last glow under a closed door. It comes within a hair of full shadow and misses by almost nothing. So the red is real, and the name is close to true. A coppery, shadowed moon with one bright rim, and it will look like little else you have seen. The old watchers never had the numbers you have. They only had the sight of it, and the sight was enough to stop them where they stood. For as long as people have kept watch, this reddening moon has been treated as something worth stopping for. Not because they were frightened children, but because they were paying attention, generation after generation, and what they learned still holds today. There are a few things the old sky watchers came to understand. Take them slowly. The first thing they came to know is that it comes back. You already understand this in your body, even if you have never put words to it. There is a certain week each year when a familiar sadness returns, and you feel it before you remember the reason, before you count back to the loss or the leaving that first carved it into you. The body keeps the calendar, the mind forgets. An anniversary lives in the chest long after the date has slipped the memory. The old watchers found the same thing waiting for them in the sky. An eclipse like this one does not happen once and disappear. It returns in almost the same shape every 18 years and 11 days. They called that long rhythm the Saros, and they found it the hard way, by keeping records across a lifetime and more, handing the count from a father to a son to a grandson, until the pattern finally showed its face. The moon that will redden over you this month is one bead on a string of more than 80 such eclipses, 83 in all, each one the grandchild of the last. And here is a detail almost no one carries. This particular eclipse is the last of its kind in that family. The next time this exact string returns, one full turn of the same rhythm later, in the year 2044, the moon will cross the line this one only grazes and go fully dark. This is the final near miss before the family learns to darken the moon completely. So you are not watching a single strange night. You are watching one turn of a wheel that was turning long before your grandparents drew breath, standing at the edge of a change in the pattern itself, a change that will keep producing darkened moons for hundreds of years after everyone alive tonight is gone. That is the company you keep when you look up. Ancestors gone on one side of you and on the other, people not yet born, all of them tied to you by this one thread of returning light. The second is that what can be counted can be trusted. Think of the plain comfort of a written record, a note left on the counter so a worry does not have to be carried alone in the head. A line in a diary that says, "This happened on this day, and you stood here for it." Even a date circled on a wall calendar can take some of the fear out of a hard month, because a thing with edges can be faced, while a shapeless dread cannot. In the old city of Babylon, more than 2,500 years ago, the sky watchers did exactly that with the moon. They pressed their observations into wet clay with the cut end of a reed, night after night, eclipse after eclipse, and from those long records they learned to say when the next darkening would arrive before it came. They were among the first people anywhere to predict an eclipse instead of only dreading one, and they did it without knowing why the pattern held. They could not have told you what a shadow was, or how the earth hung in space. They only trusted the count because the count had never once lied to them. Hold on to that, because you are being asked to do the same thing this week, to trust a pattern you feel but cannot fully explain. And this is the part that can steady you. One of those clay tablets still exists. It sits today in the British Museum, a small slab of baked earth you could stand in front of on an ordinary afternoon, behind glass, under a soft light. And it lists lunar eclipses across the years, 609 through 447, before the Common Era. Real hands pressed those marks into the clay while it was still soft. Real people stood in a courtyard under the same kind of reddening moon you were about to see, felt something move in them, and cared enough to write it down and keep it safe for a stranger they would never meet. That stranger, tonight, is you. What you have been carrying this week is not new, and it is not yours alone. People felt the pull of this same event and set it into stone for longer than most nations have stood. There is a lineage under your feeling, and it is written down in a hand older than the alphabet you read. The third is that a night like this marks a turning. You have felt a turning arrive without asking your permission. Maybe a plan you had been building toward suddenly went flat and heavy, and you could not say why. Maybe a commitment you had worn for years like a good coat stopped fitting across the shoulders, or a friendship you kept mostly out of habit finally asked to be set down, and a phone call you kept meaning to return stayed unmade because some part of you already knew. Perhaps you had a dream this week that was sharper than your dreams usually are, so vivid it stayed with you into the morning and would not quite let go, and you woke unsure which side of sleep you were on. The old watchers read the reddening moon as exactly this kind of hinge, a marker laid between a before and an after. In Babylon, a lunar eclipse was taken as an omen for the king, a sign that some chapter of a reign was closing. They took it so seriously that a ruler would sometimes step down from the throne for the dangerous days and set a stand in his place, a substitute to sit under whatever the sky intended, so the true king could return once the shadow had passed and lifted. Whatever you make of that, hold the human truth inside it. These were people who understood in their bones that some passages have to be walked through and cannot be walked around. And there is something the astronomers knew that deepens this. An eclipse cannot happen just anywhere, or on any night at all. It can only happen at one of two hidden gates in the sky, the 2 points where the moon's tilted path crosses the road the sun appears to travel. The old watchers found those crossings and gave them names, and in more than one land they pictured the darkening as a great creature that lived at the gate, waiting to swallow the light as it went by. Strip the creature away, and the fact left underneath is its own kind of poetry. An eclipse is a crossing. It is the sky itself standing at a threshold, one path cutting clean across another, the plain shape of a turning point drawn overhead in light and shadow, on a night when you happen to be feeling a crossing of your own. There is a reason this particular moon speaks so directly to that. It falls in Pisces, the last sign of the turning year, the one long tied to endings and to the slow dissolving of what is finished. Pisces is where the things kept under the surface come up for air. It is the deep water at the end of the road, where the map runs out and the current takes over. So if something long buried has risen in you this week, an old face you had not thought of in years, a grief you believed was settled and put away, a truth about your own life you have been steering carefully around, that is the season you are standing in. The long tradition would name this surfacing as right on time. The tide of the last sign doing what it has always done. Nothing has gone wrong in you. The water is high, that is all, and high water lifts what the low water hid. You have seen a river do this after a long rain, raising up the branches and old boards that lay hidden all summer on the bottom, carrying them out into the open where the light can reach them at last. Something in you is doing the same work now, and it does not ask your permission, only your patience. There is a fourth thing they understood, and it carries more weight than all the rest. It takes a moment to feel the size of it. There is a particular relief that comes when a stranger describes your own feeling back to you, unprompted, in words you never handed them. You realize you were never as alone or as strange as you had feared. A weight you thought only you could feel turns out to have a name, and other hands to help carry it. Now widen that relief to the size of the earth itself. While the watchers of Babylon were pressing eclipses into clay, other people on the far side of the world, who had never met them and never could, who did not know their land existed, were watching the same darkening moon and arriving at the same reverence. In ancient China, sky watchers kept their own long records, some of the oldest of them scratched onto polished bone more than 3,000 years ago. Older than the Babylonian tablet in the museum. When the moon went dark, they met it with drums, with ritual, with a great and rising noise meant to answer a great and passing thing. To them, the shadow looked like something devouring the light, and they would not let it feed in silence. The emperor himself was held responsible for keeping the harmony of the heavens, and a darkened moon fell squarely on his shoulders. And there is a wonder folded inside that. Those ancient records were kept so carefully, so exactly, that scientists today reach back and use them to measure something no one then could have dreamed of. By comparing where the old watchers saw the shadow fall against where it should have fallen, they can read how much the Earth's own spin has slowed across the centuries, how the length of a single day has stretched, by the smallest sliver over 3,000 turning years. The care of those frightened, faithful people is now a ruler laid against time itself. Let the shape of that settle for a breath. Two civilizations, oceans apart, sharing no language and no maps and no word of one another, both stopped in their tracks by this same coppery moon, and both reaching for the same response. Stop, pay attention, and mark this. That is not a coincidence you can wave away. When people who could not possibly have copied one another all stopped by the same thing, it usually means the thing is real, that it presses on something built into the human frame itself. The pull you have been feeling toward this eclipse is the same pull that human beings on opposite ends of the planet felt too, and honored, thousands of years before your name was ever spoken. You are not inventing this. You are inheriting it. And there is a last one, the gentlest of them, and it lives inside the color itself. Think of a light left on for you in the hall when you come home late. The way its glow reaches around the corner and finds you, even though you cannot see the lamp that makes it. That is close to what happens to the moon on this night. When it passes fully into the earth's shadow, it does not go black and vanish, the way you might expect a thing in shadow to do. It turns copper. It turns the deep red of an ember banked low in a grate, and the reason is almost unbearably tender once you hear it plainly. The only sunlight that can still reach the moon in that hour is the light that has bent around the far edge of the earth, passing through the thin ring of every sunrise and every sunset happening on the planet at one moment, all of them at once, every dawn breaking over some far ocean, every dusk falling on some distant field, their light gathered up and bent inward and laid softly across the face of the moon. That red glow is the sum of all the world's mornings and evenings, reaching across the dark to touch the one thing the earth cannot quite shield from itself. And no two of these red moons are ever the same. The exact shade, whether it burns bright orange or sinks to a dim and bruised brown, is a fresh reading of the Earth's own air on that single night. Every high cloud and every trace of dust and smoke along the rim of the world writing itself into the color. So the red you will see is a message, in a way, though not the kind the fearful once imagined. It is the state of the planet's sky, reported back to you in one quiet glow. Nobody had to invent a story to make that beautiful. It is beautiful on its own, and it is true, and the old watchers felt the beauty of it long before anyone could explain the reason. So take that old knowing and set it down in the here and now, in the actual sky, above your own street. This reddening moon belongs to a family. It is the sixth of a set of 7 eclipses strung along the same line of the sky, the axis that runs between Virgo and Pisces, a long 2-year story that opened back in September of 2024 and will finally close in February of 2027. 6 chapters in, 1 to go, and the one still to come will be a faint dimming that many will sleep through without ever knowing it came. So this deep red moon is the last vivid chapter of the arc, the last one you will see with your own eyes. Cast your mind back to the autumn of 2024 for a moment. Something began stirring then. Some slow arc in your life, some question you did not yet know how to ask. It has been moving under everything since, steadily rearranging the furniture of your days. This eclipse is near the end of that arc, and this particular night also closes something nearer. 2 weeks before it, on August 12th, a total eclipse of the sun in Leo opened this season with a bright, bold in-breath, all beginnings and fire. This Pisces moon is the long exhale that answers it, the tide going back out to sea. So if you have felt, all through these past 2 years, that some chapter has been drawing steadily toward its end, you are reading the sky correctly. Something real is completing. You are standing near the last page of a story that began before you knew it had begun. Here is the heart of everything, said as plainly as it can be said. The shift you have been feeling is real, and you have not misread it. There is nothing wrong with you for feeling it, and nothing broken in you for being moved by a thing in the sky. For as long as there have been people, some of them have felt the pull of exactly this, the reddening moon at the turning of things, and trusted it enough to carve it into clay and bone so it would survive them. That record was left, in a way, for you, so that on a night far in their future, when the same feeling rose in you, there would be proof waiting in your hands that you were not the first, and not the last, and not alone. Your sensitivity this week is one of the oldest instruments a human being carries, the same one those watchers used, still working just as it was built to work. Maybe you have been called too sensitive before, as though feeling things deeply were a fault to be corrected. Set that down tonight, the wave that rose in you over an ordinary basket of laundry, the heaviness that came over you for no reason you could point to. These come from an old kind of listening, the same listening that filled the clay tablets and carved the bone. You were never too much. Paying attention was all it ever was, the way your oldest ancestors paid attention, on a night the sky asked to be seen. You come from a long line of people who looked up and felt something true. You are only the one standing here now, holding the watch for a little while before you pass it on. If you have never known what to do with yourself on a night like this, let this be all of it. You do not need a ritual, or the right words, or anything bought or memorized. On that night, make yourself a warm drink and leave the phone inside on the counter. Turn off the porch light so your eyes can open to the dark. Step out and find the moon, and let it be strange and slow and red above you. Let your mind wander where it wants to go. If a name rises, let it rise. If nothing rises, let that be fine too. And if you keep watching, you will see the shadow move. It does not leap. It creeps, slow as an hour hand, a dark tide climbing the moon's pale face and pulling the red up behind it. Give it a little time and your eyes will open to the dark. The copper deepens as you watch, until for a while the strangest thing in all the sky is something the earth has dimmed with its own turning body. Stay for that if you can. There is no test here and no grade at the end. There is only you and the oldest light you will ever see, and a few minutes that belong to no one else in the world. Now, one honest thing, because you deserve honesty more than you deserve a thrill. On the night of the eclipse, you may feel a great deal. A wave may rise in you as the moon reddens, and a name or a memory may come with it. And if that happens, let it come and pass through you like weather. But you may also stand at the window and feel almost nothing at all. The moon may be a beautiful copper coin hung in a cold sky, and you may go back inside and finish your tea and go to bed unchanged. Hear this clearly. A quiet, uneventful night holds every bit as much truth as a night full of signs. You are not required to have an experience. You are not failing if the heavens do not crack open and speak your name aloud. Some of the deepest nights of a life are the ones when nothing dramatic happens at all, and you are only present and awake, and there under the sky. A gentle night is not a lesser night. The sky is keeping you company either way, and that is more than enough. And two soft cautions, offered the way a friend across the table would offer them, then set down. A wave of feeling this strong can tempt you toward a big decision made all at once. To end the thing, sell the house, send the message you cannot unsend, all in a single reddened night. Let the wave be a wave. Feel it fully, honor what it shows you, then let it pass before you act on anything you cannot undo. What is true at midnight under a red moon will still be true in the plain light of a week from now. And a week from now you will be able to see it clearly and see all of it. The parts, the darkness kept hidden. Nothing real is lost by waiting a little. And one more, plainer still. If the heaviness you are carrying is not the light ache of an ending but something deeper, a weight that sits on your chest and will not lift no matter how many mornings arrive to meet you, please hear that this is real too, and it is not something you were ever meant to carry alone. Reaching toward a trusted person, or toward a doctor or a counselor, is not weakness but strength, and one of the most sensible things a person can do for themselves. The sky will keep, and it has waited this long already. You matter more than any moon. So here is where all of it comes to rest. You are not the exception. You are not the one soul singled out by the cosmos for a private message meant for you alone, and you were never meant to be. The truth is kinder and larger than that. You are one more person in a line that runs back thousands of years, standing where Babylonian watchers stood in their courtyards, and where Chinese watchers stood with their drums, and where countless quiet people at countless windows have stood, all of them turning their faces up toward the same reddening moon, all of them feeling some version of what you feel now. Being one among the many is the greater gift, far larger and warmer than being chosen ever was. It means you are held inside something. It means you are in company. Good, plain, human company, stretching back further than you can see and forward past where you will ever go. There is a deep rest in that if you let yourself feel it. Look up, the way they looked up, and let the old light find you the way it has found every watchful face that turned toward it before yours. What waits for you on that night is not a verdict written for you alone. It is an old and common sky, and you are one more face turned up toward it, in good and ordinary company. So let one honest question stay with you between this night and that one. What in your life has already ended, without your quite deciding it, that some part of you has known for a while now is over, and that you have not yet let yourself set down? There is no need to answer it tonight. Let it wait for the moon, and on that night, on August 27th, when the house is finally still and the day is done, step outside. Find the moon going copper over the rooftops, with Saturn steady beside it. Stand there in the cold for a few minutes, one more watcher in the long, long line, and let yourself belong to something old. If these slow walks under the sky are the kind of company you want more of, stay close by subscribing, and you will be here for whatever the next turning brings when it comes. Until then, rest easy. The sky is not finished with its story, and neither are